As an HR practitioner, you know that skills impact every talent process in your organization. Understanding what skills you have, what's being developed, and where the gaps are is critical to your talent planning. To talk more about creating an effective skills strategy, I'm pleased to be joined today by Janelle Allen, SVP and Chief People Officer at Children's Hospital and Medical of Omaha. Welcome, Janelle. We're so happy to have you with us today. So let's get started. How are you considering skills as you look in the future? And how are you planning your talent and your skill needs as you support your organization?
Yeah, here at Children's Hospital and Medical Center, this is a strategic imperative for us. We are closely watching all market trends, also population trends and illness trends. Those are really key indicators to the future of healthcare needs for us. Our mission is around really impacting the life of every child. So through that is really directing our services where they're at today, but also future services we're going to need. In addition, we're spending a lot of time with legislators, parents, consumers to understand the industry and the market needs as well. So HR, along with the business leaders, we have a strategic plan and focus around looking at what are the skills needed, what's the time frame, and then bridging that gap.
Great. So as you think about your skills strategy and closing some of your skill gaps, how are you thinking about attracting talent from the outside versus growing talent from inside your institution?
Yeah, that's such an important question, and certainly all of those factors play into it as we think about internally is definitely our imperative, and where we want to spend a lot of our time and energy. We think that's important. We have to we're opening a facility that's almost doubling our beds and adding new services in that will open here in September of this year. So a lot of those needs are unique skill needs to pediatric care and research and education. So we've had to really position ourselves as a national player versus being a local player around that employment space. So from there, and then we've also put a lot of contingency plans and really focused heavily on our succession planning. So those are the three areas that we are spending our time. So if we talk really around internally bridging our skill gap, we've had to do a lot of things to get people to quickly engage. And we've had some immediate skills that we need that are ready to go here by September when we take our new patient in this big facility we have, but also really changing the culture, mindset, and approach around learning and growing. If I take us back just a moment, we have done focus groups and as we're trying to build and revamp our employee value proposition. And learning and growing was one of our key pillars that came out from our employees that come to us and stay with us. Why is that important? And they say, in their roles, every day they are challenged. I mean, you think about they are doing cutting edge medicine, they're doing cutting edge practices, they're having to pivot, they're having to respond to cultural new norms and realities from patients and their family members. So every day in role, they're very challenged and they have a high variation. With that said, how do we continue to foster and fuel that, knowing that healthcare is on a high trajectory of change? Like, it's a disruptive time, very exciting for those of us that are all about transformation. But as we think around, really a traditional model going to more of an accelerated contemporary model where we have a lot of market disruptors in place, we have to ensure we have the skill and the talent to meet these needs.
So you talk about rapidly reskilling your resources. Talk to us about the tactics that you're using to do that rapidly.
Mm-hmm. So through the pandemic, it allowed us the opportunity to start to think creative, like basic things like we had barriers around policies. We had a lot of bureaucratic procedures internally where it was just like, we need to back off and say, how do we look at this and really create an environment that our staff and physicians can access learning 24/7, mobile, easily available, that they also can have a place where they're capturing all of this to, have their own transcript, but also to work with their leader on their skills planning. So that allowed us to really become much more agile and nimble in the learning space, having easier access, different modems. It used to be very traditional a year ago. All of that has changed for us. So that was the big thing around removing barriers. But we've also put in some incentives because we're paying for certain type of skill sets. We're going to add some unique compensation differentiators. Those type of incentives are important for us. We're also engaging with different partners than we have in the past because we used to do a lot of it internally, building and delivering. We can't do that any longer. We have to. There's people that do this better than us that we can help to customize some ways within children. So really changing our philosophy, expanding our partners, and creating different learning paths. And the learning paths are, a lot of them are specifically in high clinical areas that are very intensive of nature, especially around your critical care environments, but also our leadership, because our leadership has to change. We know that we are forever changed, and we went through several series as we've reset our mission, vision, and strategic plan. We've also looked at our values. We've done some refinements there. And we are in the competencies. We've revamped our executive competencies, and now we're bringing that into our leadership and our individual contributor. So with all of that, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of skill change. There's a lot of different expectations with that. So as we think through our leaders and having specific leadership paths in several areas is what we've created in this response to accelerate our leadership effectiveness.
That's great. So when COVID hit, right, I don't know that anybody really anticipated, right, how quickly it was going to hit, skill changes and the new needs that you're going to have in your hospital. Talk to us about what you're doing now to anticipate different skill needs. Obviously leadership and with this new mission and the way that you're approaching it, but talk to us about what you're doing now, anticipating what's to come.
Yeah, well, this has become a topic truly at the senior executive level. Prior to COVID, or the pandemic, it was an important element, but it was not at that strategic level where we have engaged our CFO and others like senior execs to come in and highlight this as a priority, and we are intentionally investing in these areas. This has also become a key element at the heart of our employee value proposition, and so if you can embed that within it, again, it's a signal to our leadership in the organization that this is where we're going to invest in, and we've done that. And so that is helping to just confirm the need around the strategic priorities for this and the investments. So high level, I think it's really important. You have to back out and ensure you've got that top level leadership who's willing to invest the time and resources into it, because without that, it's very difficult to accelerate the skill training and bridging that gap.
So outside of leadership skills, what other skills are you anticipating you need maybe over the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, technological skills for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody is a technology organization, right? And healthcare is not immune to that. We're not immune to it. So we have had significant growth in our telemedicine, our virtual care. We've been able to expand our services to other parts of the country through virtual ways. Also, when you think about market disruptors coming in as competitors to our work, they're in that technological delivery way. So our organization, that is a significant focus, is technology, but also then compelling communication, and very D&I is a big around the cultural realities, because everything we do is around our patients. Our focus is on our patients and their families so that we can ensure the most highest quality, best outcome for that. And there's a lot of social realities that have changed, and the expectations have changed in that. So, and the other pieces around, I use the word conflict, but it's really around just engagement. And we see it in our workforce, healthcare sees it. I think most industries are seeing that with all of their workforce. There is high stress, there's high burnout, high resiliency. So that is also a strategic imperative for us too, is how do we ensure that we're taking care of our people, that we have good ways of ensuring the holistic well-being for people.
So in the healthcare industry, obviously you talked about it with telemedicine, you need more IT-based resources. But what other skill gaps are you finding it's really hard to recruit for and keep those skills in-house?
Mm-hmm. I would say anything, honestly, it's the clinical side. In our space, but also nationally, there's significant healthcare shortages. It tends to be your patient facing, so your nursing, your RTs, all of that, your therapists. And we're even unique because we need pediatric care focus. So that even requires an experienced employee. So it's very rare that we would hire somebody to be a new grad into these clinical environments. They need to come to us either with experience, or we've had to create pipelines for them to gain that experience through college or that first year. We have a way to bring individuals into the organization, prepare them over a year to then go into our highly critical areas. Because we are a children's hospital, our services are highly intensively skill critical oriented. So that is really where most of our energy is spent. And that is, when I think about truly an area of concern for us, is that meeting it. So we have to not only build it, but ensure we're complementing it with other resources and contingency plans. And fortunately, through COVID, I'm really proud of our organization. We did not have to do any layoffs or furloughs. We made an intentional decision not to do that because we knew the day would come where our volumes would be back to where they are. And if we could commit to our people during their hardest time, they'll come back and give it back to us trifold. And that's what's happening here. So we don't have, our retention has stabilized. We are also closely monitoring it. As you know, you're seeing a lot of research out there that it's 21 into 22 is a job turn time. So people have not made moves, they're going to make it. We are preparing for that as well. And so then thinking around the skills, the learnings, the way our employees can find individual and career development, we are being much more intentional around that. We need to utilize our Oracle system stronger. There's a lot of great resources for us that we're building out on the talent profile, using the succession modules. All of those facets are really going to help us accelerate this and scale it across our several locations.
That's great. You talked about you're there for the children and to take care of them, but at the same time, there's caregivers involved. These are their people, right? And so what I've found as I've talked to your peers across the US, you start to see this convergence almost between hospitality, right, and a concierge service, and healthcare, and how you bring those two together to take care of both parties that you're serving in this process. So to all your HR practitioners out there, you have your chance to share with them the one thing or two things that you wish you would have maybe done different at the start of redefining your skill strategy. So what would you share with people? What would you have done differently?
This is a really good question because I look back and I would say, gosh, our team and our workforce is much more agile, flexible, innovative, and courageous than I would have ever anticipated. And that really resonated over the last, year and a half. We saw that. And so as we were building our ways of how we're going to bridge the gaps and the type of approaches to that prior to March of 2020, well, that shifted absolutely in a way that I feel that we can build upon a lot of what we learned through that. And we've had to pivot internally as well to get into this more mobile, 24/7, different ways of learning and developing. It used to be very traditional. Now we're into high video options, inlets, ensuring all of the people can see their pathing because they want to engage in it. And we're not having to push it. There is a real hunger for it. And looking back, I would say, those are the type of things, if you build it and there's a compelling way and people can see themselves in it, they will engage and flourish.
is exciting, right? Humans can do some pretty like supernatural, like powerful things, and you just give them the latitude to do it, give them some direction, and you can really unleash some greatness. So it's great to hear that.
It is.
Well, we appreciate it so much. We appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate you as a customer. So thank you. And I know your colleagues listening will really appreciate your advice and to hear what you all are doing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Janelle, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate your insights. And now I'm going to hand it over and we're going to hear from Jace Lee from Fujifilm.
Hey Jesslyn, good morning and welcome. It is such a pleasure welcoming you and talking to you today about the evolution of skills in the marketplace. Thanks for taking time out. Jesslyn, as the CHRO of Fujifilms, you've been leading this whole transformation and the entry and evolution to the new workplace. Tell us, how are you considering skills as you look at to the future of business, and how do you plan the talent that you will need to support your business going forward?
Mm. With the pace of technology disruptions and digitalizations, our business is changing gears to focus on services and solutions by accelerating digital's offering, workflow automations, document scans, and artificial intelligence so that we can continue to innovate with values for our customers and our business partners. So in alignment to our business strategies and the mid-range plan, we examine and diagnose the existing capability of our workforce and map it against the skills and competencies required for the business futures. And in addition, we also advocate for you own your own career and encourage people managers to have a continuous career conversations with their employees to unveil their career aspirations. So as we find the fit of the future skills and the employees' capabilities, that's where we want to get the best match and fit of an individual's career aspirations along with the skills required by the companies and further investing in them by getting the right people for upskilling and reskilling.
Very interesting, and I love your idea of people owning their career. So,
Yeah.
Jesslyn, as you look at this and you plan the talent and skill strategy, where are you putting more focus on? Partly you mentioned about it, but are you looking at closing the skill gaps internally, or looking at externally, or reskilling your people? And whatever your strategy is, what's the reason behind that choice? How do you go about deciding that?
Okay, for resource management, we adopt 3B approach: buy, build, and borrow. So buy is essentially the scouting approach. So where in the essence of time, it'll be a quickest fix or solutions to fill the existing gaps. And also by injecting new ideas and impart or supplements new knowledge and skills into the existing workforce. So that is a buy approach, quick fix. Whereas build is our emphasis, okay, because we prioritize build our resources because we believe if our people grow, the business will also grow. So at Fujifilm's Business Innovations, each department has a representative as a learning champion. And this learning champion will work with the business leader to gain a deep understanding of employees and team by involving individual employee in the process of future state. So they know the visions of the companies, the mid-range branch, and what are the skill sets that's anticipated for this business need. And then we give the employee an opportunity to shape their own career path. So this is in line with our people development strategy, the 4E. If you read one of my articles out there, my 4E strategy. Yeah, my 4E strategy is about engage, enable, empower, and energize. So as we engage and involve our people, we also enable them with necessary tools and resources. And therefore, they feel more empowered with a sense of ownership, autonomy to realize their full potentials and to perform their absolutely best. So therefore, with the 3E in front, certainly they'll feel more energized. So that's my third E.
And this is very interesting, Jesslyn, and I want to deep dwell a bit on one of the E's, which is about engaging and encouraging people. How do you encourage and engage them to reskill themselves or constantly learn those new skill sets quickly?
You know what? In Fujifilm's business innovations, our PCC is People, Culture, and CSR. Our mission is to maximize and unleash our people's potentials by engaging their 3H. Sorry, a lot of acronym.
The three P's, the three E's, and now four E's, and now the three H.
Yes, the
I love
3H.
this. This is so simple, and I love this.
So the 3H is heart, the head, and the hand. So because we believe that, like I says, when the business grow, that's when the people grows, right? So the best way to encourage people to learn their new skills is to make it evident that the business is interested in their personal growth and development.
Mm-hmm.
And then the knowledge, as we all know that the knowledge and skill acquired by their individual is their own IP. That's increase their personal value, which no one can take away. And another way to motivate employee is to develop and grow professionally, and by providing them with an incentive that they will receive after they successfully acquire the new skill and the
Very
new skills
interesting.
and the desired goal that they meet. So, having specific goals and rewards can give employee a tangible reasons to make the time that they learn the new technique more beneficial. So
Mm.
there's a saying, we always tell the employee, do you want to be ready or management to wait for you to be ready?
Mm.
Taking charge of your personal growth, make yourself readily available for the next career
Right.
opportunity. So sometimes incentive may not necessarily to be monetary, and it could be recognitions programs that put them on the limelight of glories and success. And another approach of encouraging them will be cross training.
Mm.
Cross training can be another way for workforce to learn new skills. And the idea behind the cross training is also an informal ways of on the job learning from our peers. So this will also accelerate learning. And the most crucial part is if the business is descend into chaos, or sometimes
Mm.
any outbreak, some things that happen to one person, with the cross trainings, it will help to back up and supplement the required people at the
Got it.
time. Mm.
So, Jesslyn, talking about readiness, and I love the model that you have put in place. From a business perspective, you know that the skill demand is changing rapidly. As an organization, do you have a strategy for anticipating these skills and therefore, arriving at what skills would be required?
Mm. I read one of the articles from Barclay Life Skills. It showed that 60% of employer believe that adaptability has become more important in this decade than in the past. So it is right to say that, in this pandemic, it is essential to be agile and respond to change and adapt to suit almost every environment. So whether in or out of the workforce, or people are facing cancelled plan, disrupted routine, uncertainty, sudden closures, or stress and upheavals. So while people, while many people have understandably struggles with the unprecedented event of the year, so the ability to transit has been admirable. So instead of anticipating the skill shift, we should focus on cultivating adaptability to respond to the rapidly changing landscape.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it is essential to keep an ears on the ground and to watch carefully what competitors and the industries or the overall market is doing. So
Yeah.
when you look at the landscape, when the landscape unfold, then to become more aware of the demands ahead, you can become even better and prepare yourself to make a rapid change that are needed.
Yeah.
So in order to do so, it is vital, to look at talents that have a great potentials in solving problems and be innovative and able to grasp and seize opportunities while reacting positively to the changing landscape.
I just wish we had more times, but as we close this very interesting conversation, I'm very curious. Is there anything that you wished you knew beforehand as you go about navigating the new age of the skills?
You know what? Actually, I wish I do have a crystal ball, but I don't. Of course, I wish I could have anticipated how COVID would have forced people around the world to work from home.
Yeah.
Lockdown has switched from an offline model to 100% remote working. So all
Mhm.
these containment phases of the crisis gradually resides, and you might expect like remote working to fade away as well, right? But however, most companies are working towards a hybrid work arrangement,
Correct.
which also require new skill. Like for example, on sales rep, in the past they just go to customer side and then present. So there is a hybrid where they have to manage their customer who are on the call and on the office itself. So now we have to shift the expectation of the sales meeting configurations from just video or one way to become
Yeah.
two ways. Yeah, it's really hybrid. So the dynamic is more than just remote works, and also extract the role of digitalizations, automations, and artificial intelligence.
Mm.
So if we were to knew beforehand, we would have reskilled and upskills our workforce to deliver new business models, right?
Jesslyn, I'll tell you, while we are nowhere near getting a crystal ball, but I think machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, and new technologies are playing a very important role in being able to predict both the external environment and therefore the skills required, but more importantly, look at your internal skill inventory. Hey, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure everybody who's listening to this conversation is getting enriched with the wisdom that you've shared. Really, thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to many more such conversations, Jesslyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.